Good morning, and thank you for joining Resilient You with Alicia Pozsony. On our show, we have guests that talk about topics of resilience. Some of them are subject matter experts. Some of them are just regular folks that have been through things. Today, we have someone that I'm really excited to have on our show. We have Jennifer Kohler. Jennifer is a Master Numerologist, channel and intuitive life and business coach. She has built a wonderful practice, and I'm so excited, Jennifer, to have you.
Thank you so much. I am also very excited to be here in your space.
Thank you. Well, we're this month is the last month of the year, and this is definitely a time when people like to reflect on what has happened, where they are, and I know that I've had a couple other people in the spiritual space talking about their soul journey, talking about their life's purpose. And it can be challenging because those of us who are a little more intuitive, intrinsically made up that way to connect to different things. We feel things differently. We experience them differently. But there's different people in all walks of life. And so I know that you work with different channels, writers, speakers, healers, visionaries, leaders, teachers, coaches, all things on this frequency of love to reset their nervous system, reclaim their power. And one of the things that I saw, you have different things available for us where we can live according to our numerological charts. So why don't I give you some time? Why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners, and let's get going.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alicia. That is a delightful description of what I do. I'm like, oh, that's a long list of people that I work with. I mainly work with spiritual entrepreneurs is what I have found. But I also just work with people who are waking up, who are awakening to their divinity, right? To like understanding that we are source in a body. And I have been on this journey for a really long time, and I just can't stop doing it. So numerologically, when I say living your numerological chart, I've been a numerologist since 2018, and I have been in a mastery program for the past several years. And I actually am just finishing it right now. And I'm really excited about it because, number one, when you finish something of that caliber for that long, sort of like studying, it's like, oh, I finally get to just walk out into the world and just really do this work, which I'm really excited about. I'm excited about the ending. And one thing that you just said, that this is a time of year where we naturally reflect. I love that you talked about that because we're actually in a Neptune period numerologically, collectively. So the collective right now is experiencing Neptune energy. And Neptune, if you think of the god of Neptune, right, you think of, or whatever his name is, it's very watery, it's very reflective, it's very dreamy. And so we like to call it the dream time. So this is very, it's very accurate to say that we would be reflecting.
Okay, well, look at that. That's, that's very interesting. A few years back, I learned about energy and different things where it's not just you in your space, in your life. There's something greater than that might be happening, affecting us. And so when you say that we as a collective, so tell me about your knowledge of the, numerological charts, because again, I don't have anything to go by. I'm going to join some of your groups and things like that. But cool. The other day, everything was tying back to the number 9. It was like I went to say something and I was saying 9 instead of the number that I was reading. I looked at the clock. Every time I looked, it was the 9. It was 9 of everything, like for a full day. And it hit me. And I said, this must have some meaning to it. And I looked it up, and it was positive. It was something around an ending or a new beginning and a closure. And that was actually really what I was going through in a certain situation. So tell me a little bit about that whole practice.
Okay, I love that you're talking about this. Okay, so we are in a numerological 9 energy month for the entire month. December is all 9 energy. Okay, and you just hit the nail on the head, because Friday we experienced a 9 energy day with a 9 of club energy, and it was a 9, and we have this 9 energy month. So you were really feeling the ending. It's like death and rebirth, right? Sometimes people get afraid of the 9 because it does mean an ending, and people resist endings, right? Like when I was talking about my program ending, there's many people in the program who are sad that it's ending. But I really feel so in this 9 energy. I'm like, we're graduating, we're finishing, we're done. It's this, what's on the other side of the ending? Even if you truly die a death, you are being rebirthed into something, right? So there's always death and rebirth. And that is really the crux of the 9. It's true surrender. We hear the word surrender. What the heck does surrender actually mean? Everyone's talking about let go, surrender. Well, the 9 energy is here to let you know that it is safe for you and me to let go truly, right? To let go of your hands, let go of control, let go of trying to micromanage like everything in your life. And I love this 9 energy. It feels so good. There's a bit of a hermit energy too, right? You can feel that coming into winter if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. And so you're moving inward. You're feeling like going into the cave and stoking your own fire so that you can be rebirthed again in January.
That sounds wonderful.
Doesn't it?
Well, I'm telling you, this number came to me, and it's happened other times in my life, and I just, okay, whatever, number 4 and number 6, like, but I just brushed it off like, it's just that coincidence, right? Now, if we're knowledgeable about something, right? Because knowledge is power, and everything that go through. I read a quote today from someone, and it was their own quote, and it was about that. It was about every day learning something and using that knowledge beyond, right? So I was, that really resonated with me. And I was thinking about the our meeting today. I was thinking about the just how much of this can help us. Do you have any stories? Like, how did you arrive as a master numerologist? And tell us a little bit about your story.
So I believe that the numbers are a frequency. So we have the numbers 1 through 9, and I believe that they are a frequency that we are channeling. So the numbers, when they're coming through for you, like you talk about a 4 or a 6, right? They're coming through to wake you up to something. So they're here to awaken us to who we really are. And I believe that the universe is really a matrix, right? And it is really just made up of zeros and ones, really 1 through 9. It's made up of numbers. Our whole world is made up of math. And if you start to really dive down the rabbit hole, you can really do that, right? But my awakening started when I was a Reiki master teacher, and I was starting just to get really curious about, angels and my guides and, my spirit, like there's something beyond me. And so I started seeing the numbers 333, started seeing the numbers 444, and I thought, this means something. This has to mean something. Like, I'm obsessively seeing it. And I would see it morning and night, like every single day of my life. And so I started just Googling. I just was like, what does 333 mean? I went to Salida. I lived in Colorado. I went up to Salida, went to a cute little, kitschy spiritual store. And I really got into what do these numbers have to say to me? And so the 333 was important. The 444 was important. And it led me to my mentor and my teacher who was going to teach me numerology. But in the meantime, I just sort of started diving into those numbers. And what I realized, what it meant though, which is really cool, is that I am a 3 of diamonds in Egyptian numerology. So the 3 was trying to wake me up to my contract, to why I'm here on this planet, my karma, right? And then the 4 is my ruling number. So in Pythagorean numerology, I'm a 4 ruling energy, and that's my outward personality. It is the ruling archetype of the emperor. And so the 4s and the 3s were like, hello, wake up. You're here. We want to speak to you. We want you to wake up to who you really are and to step into leadership. And so very reluctantly I did.
Honey, very reluctantly. So what had you done before?
I was sort of a wanderer. I wandered. I lived on a commune. I lived in the woods. I lived off grid. I sort of wandered around, just following music bands and things like that. And then I traveled a lot. And eventually I met my husband traveling around the world, and then we moved to Colorado. And so I was like, I better get like a real career. I became a massage therapist, Reiki master, and a doula. So that was that was kind of my awakening into a career or into a practice,
Wow. Okay. So interesting. Love it. Love it. And I'm not a risk taker, although I would go to concerts and follow my bands as well.
Of course.
A couple weeks ago, I met with Michael Glabicki of Rusted Root.
Cool. Great.
Yeah. And we had seen him years ago, and we couldn't get together and hang out, but he was just so awesome. And in fact, he agreed to come on my show. So I'm so excited to have him. He's working on some new music, but we're gonna do a show, and hopefully I can get into the musical end to have some music guests on the show as well.
Really fun. I love that.
Yeah. So you just talked about that, and I thought of that band especially, but.
Well, and like musicians, they're such channelers, right? They're so intuitive. They're like this stream of consciousness is moving through them, and they have this capacity to communicate and express it to the world in such an amazing, incredible way. I just love music.
Yeah. So okay, so you had started out, and you ended up to this place by listening and being in tune to what you were experiencing, right? So I want to have just a reminder to our listeners or anyone else who is joining. We have Jennifer Kohler. She's a Master Numerologist, channel and intuitive life and business coach, and she is available. She has online tools and services for wellness, energy, medicine, and she has a coaching practice. She also has a healing arts school. And we're just talking about our frequency, that numbers are a frequency, and the numbers are there to help us wake up to something. So if you've experienced anything like I did or like Jennifer did, where the numbers were really evident in our day or in our experience, it's worth it. Take a look, take a listen. So Jennifer, what are some of the programs you have available?
So I do have a healing arts school. So that has sort of morphed a little bit. I am not teaching Reiki anymore, but I am teaching intuitive work. So if you are awakening to your clairvoyance, or you're really waking up to your intuition and you want to dive in further, I do have a program called Awakening, and that is part of the healing arts school. And you will learn how to really tap into your inner guidance system. So really understanding what your clairs are, right? So we have clairvoyance, clairaudience, meaning I can hear things, clairvoyance, meaning I might see things, right? Clairsentience, meaning I feel everything. Claircognizance, I just know stuff. And like that one was really strong for me as a child. I would just know things, and I still do. But I believe that we all do. I believe that every single person on this planet is actually extremely intuitive, but we've just been conditioned to ignore it, to pay attention to something else. We are, we have programming all around us that's told us, no, it's only for special people. No, it's only for this psychic or this person. But I think that we all actually, to certain levels, to certain degrees, have these capacities and capabilities. And it's called a practice for a reason. Because when you start to pay attention to it and wake up to who you really are, to what you really are, it just shifts everything in your life. So we're all intuitive, and in this awakening program, I just walk us through divinity. It can be God, it could be source, it could be universe, it could be numbers, it could be whatever it is that you believe is fine with me. It doesn't really matter. I believe it's all one thing. I believe that we are living by universal law and we are all one. And so really that is that program. That's the awakening program. And it's really for anyone. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. You could be listening to this from your car and going to your 9 to 5. And this would be a great fit for you to just sort of start to if you're curious, if you're open and you're wanting to learn more. Right?
Wow. Yeah. So, well, I don't know if you saw my face just a minute ago, but when you said about that claircognitive, you just knew things. Well, all my life I felt that way, and I've said it. I said, "Oh, I must be an old soul because I just knew things, but there was no way for me to know them. It wasn't a part of my life with my parents or parent."
Right.
But that was something that, and then when I got older, I got married, I had children, that was new to me. That I didn't know anything about. It felt so foreign compared to everything else I had gone through and known. That's amazing. Wow. All right. So you're teaching me, and I appreciate it because this is interesting. I definitely want to look into it.
Good. I love it.
Yeah. So all right, so we've heard about how you got where you are. What do you think is the biggest benefit? So you said that you can become more in tune to your awakening and it can shift your life. How can we apply it to our life once we gain that knowledge?
Well, I really do believe that this intuition, all of these things, really lead us on the path to emotional mastery. So that's another thing that I teach in my programs is waking up to your consciousness, right? Really like understanding consciousness, and that we are all conscious humans, and some of us to lesser degrees or more higher degrees, and really it's all about vibration. And so like your consciousness, emotional mastery is another piece that's very important and very applicable, right? So it's something that you need to apply in your life. So when you feel triggered by something, for example, and you all know what I'm talking about, you're driving in traffic and somebody cuts you off and you feel that heat rising up into your face and you're like, oh, I'm about to get some road rage, right? Like we have triggers. We have things that show up for us, mirrors that show up for us, from our parents, from our programming, right? From our social conditioning. And so that's a big part of this work that I do as well. And I think they all just go hand in hand. They all just they all sort of meld together. When we start to recognize our own emotional mastery or lack thereof, and we start to work on those things, we start to grow and expand as a person. And I think it naturally evolves into tapping into who you really are. And when I say who you really are, I continue to believe that we are source energy. We are source in a body, or God in a body, or universe in a body. And to me, all of those things, energetic mastery, emotional mastery, self-mastery, self-actualization, they are all the same thing. They all go together so divinely.
Wonderful. So in a way, you help people to to wake up, to get to know themselves, right?
Yeah, yes. Simply.
But so, and many people, you see different things online, or people might say, like some of my clients or people who buy my book. I don't know if you know, Jennifer, but I always talk about this. I have my book. It's a self-help workbook. It's Emotional Strength Explained. And there's prompts in here that walk people through, and you can, daily journal. And after you use this, you become more resilient emotionally. You become more aware of what's healthy for you. You might recognize patterns, things that you want to change. And even I've had people use the book when they are wanting to improve relationships with others, right? So two people come together and they realize, like, they're just, maybe they have different love languages. Maybe they react differently to things, and without communication, so anyway, the book has been helpful. But you talk about emotional mastery, and that's definitely in line with a lot of the things that many of us are trying to do, where we're trying to put good into the world, especially with all the things going on. Life is fast paced, and but I started to say, people want to voice what they're going through. They don't know how to change it. Oftentimes, if we change our perception, change our reaction, it benefits us, because we're not so stressed. We're not so caught up in that daily frustration, different things that happen. And so I really like this idea that we can become more aware, more intuitive, and then we can learn to let go, like with my number 9 and the month of December, right? So
yeah, they all go together.
yeah. So in December, you had said that the collective is experiencing this 9 energy thing happening. And if you're out there and you're struggling with something, and you don't want to let go, and you're afraid to surrender to what comes next, this is all part of what I preach all the time, right? Like, if you let go of those things that you don't realize are holding you back, you think they're good, but maybe they're not, you can really open yourself up to greater things that may happen.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Now, is there a specific number chart? Is there like a process where we learn about ourselves, and then we have these numbers that we live by at different times in reaction to things happening in the universe? That's my next question.
Yes. So the first thing that I like to walk people through is their Pythagorean numerology. And it is, I'll call it like a more practical approach to numerology. And it really teaches us, like, people will understand master number or a life path number. So you take all of the digits of your birth date. So you would just add them all up until you get a single digit. Okay. And so I'm a 4. So if you take my birthday, 7/12/1974, and it equals a 31. And then I break that down to a 4. And so I know that I'm a ruling number 4. So that's the first thing I would take people through. And then we would sort of expand out a little bit. So that's like I like to say that's like your sun sign. Okay. So like your astrological chart, like I'm a Cancer. So that's like some of my personality. And then we sort of want to look at why you're different from other number 4s, or whatever that looks like, right? So we would look at different influences that come up in your chart. And so there's this whole mathematic formula that we use. It's very easy, though. It's not like so super complicated. And you would start to find out these different layers, right? So we start out here, and we sort of start to move out. We start to get a bigger view, and we sort of zoom out so that we're seeing larger parts of your life. And what we're really looking at here is your dharma, your karma. So your dharma meaning your life's purpose. Why did you come to this planet that we call Earth, right? Why are you here? Everyone wants to know, why am I here? And numerology gives you very clear direction about why we're here and what we're meant to do and what we're meant to clear karmically, how we're meant to do that, in this lifetime. And so there is a whole perspective in that regard. And then there's also a whole nother version of numerology that I play with too.
Well, if like I was born premature, I was born 3 months early,
Oh,
and
wow.
I survived at 1 pound 11 1/4 ounces. Like,
Wow.
and yeah, so and I was always like, oh, I would joke about it. Oh, I couldn't wait to get away from my mother, or I was just born ready. I was, different things I would say. But it's interesting that you tie in the birth date because that number has a meaning. So interesting.
Yes.
So what if mine was, and I'll just ask you for some free advice.
Yeah.
So,
Do it. I can't wait to play with your chart.
oh, good. So 8/15/72 is my birth date. And I'm 50 this year. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Here I am, 50.
Yeah. Yes.
Feeling good.
Okay. So did you do the math yet, or do you want me to do the math?
I didn't do the math. I'm not a math
Okay,
person.
let's go. So you are 8 plus 1 plus 5 plus 1 plus 9 plus 7 plus 2 equals a 33. So you are a master number 33. You were born very specifically on the date that you were born on for a reason. There are no accidents in your birth. You came at the date that you are meant to come at, and you came to experience those challenges, right? So you're a 33, which equals a 6. Okay. So, but you've got all this 3 energy, and there's something very important about the 3. The 3 is a creator. The 3 is an amplifier, but you also have a low side of these numbers. The low side would be like, I am a worrywart to the nth degree. I got anxiety. I'm like, oh God, there's like a nervous Nelly feeling about the 3. And I understand it clearly because I have that energy in my chart very strongly. So I really get that. But you have a 33, you're a 6. So these are important numbers. We have a 3, 6, 9. It's very important. The 3 is creation, planting seeds, etc. The 6 nurtures and harmonizes and loves and releases karma. It's a radical responsibility card. You love to probably decorate and have beautiful things and be very aesthetically pleasing. And then the 9 is the ending, right? So you are being called very clearly, in my opinion, to really start to wake up to the numbers. This is why we found each other.
Yeah, well, I did a search, and this is just amazing to hear because so far everything is aligned and matching, right? I think everybody that knows me or has come in contact with me knows that I definitely nurture and love, and I like nice things around me and decorating. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And the worry that it comes in. I had anxiety when I was younger.
Yeah.
Life circumstance, I think it made it worse than what it might have been. But yeah, even now when everything is in line, I'll say in line because it's never perfect, never finished.
No.
There's still always because again, I've always said like life is a journey. I've always said that it's a it's a path. You're never finished as long as you're always
right.
learning, you're always growing, but there's always an uncertainty. So just when I think, okay, I'm done, I did an emotional strength workbook. I'm not done. I'm never done, right? So I want to do the next thing, and I'm always what's. So again, it's interesting. My husband and I we balance each other out, and it really is helpful to know these things about ourselves.
Yes.
You wonder what if your relationship isn't working. Maybe there's something to this. You can learn about yourself to see who might be a better partner for you.
Yes.
You can apply this in your job. There's so many areas in which you can improve your life.
Yes.
I had to put that out there because I see that connection.
Yeah, and then I did your birthday, so you've got this 33/6 energy. And then I can also see something else. We call it the tic-tac-toe. So it gives us influences about your chart, and you have the arrow of activity. So you have a wild sense of understanding self. You have a really strong sense of all of your wisdom centers, I like to call them. So your mind, your heart, your gut. And you have this arrow of activity, which means that pretty much anything that you do that you put your mind to, you will be successful at. You have the arrow of emotional stability. So you have the 258 in a line, which just means that, of course, you wrote a book about emotional strength and you do a podcast about resilience because emotional mastery is incredibly important to you. And even if it didn't come naturally to you as a child, it has come naturally to you as an adult. It is why you're here. You are very heart centered, right? Good description of you.
Wow, this is great.
And then you also have, there's other influences as well we can play with. There's lots of fun things that you can play with, but you have a lot of 6 energy in this chart too. So that 6 energy is very strong for you. This ability to harmonize, this ability to love, this ability to look at a situation and you make a choice, right? We can choose to look at it with love or fear. And my guess is that you most likely look at things with a little bit of rose-colored glasses, with a little bit of love, with a lot of love.
I do. Yes, I do. This is so funny.
Leo, and a Leo on top of it.
Right. I had no idea that we were going to be talking about myself in such detail. This is so cool, though, but thank you.
Yeah.
So and again, as you're talking and saying these things, some people are coming to mind that, I definitely want to refer to you because, it's hearing these things about ourselves, it can validate ourselves. It can help to give us, confidence or direction. It can help us to, understand where we are or where we are meant to be. So, if someone is, I don't know, critical or putting you down and, you don't understand why and you just want their love and support. But if they're not built that way, you're never going to get it. So that's one of the things I want to point out is by working with Jennifer, you can come to this intuition. You can learn these things about yourself based on your birth date that may help in, in where you are supposed to be. So, wow, that's so awesome and inspirational. Jennifer, have you ever had, I don't know, in our show we talk about resilience, and so I was going to ask you about, have you ever had a time when you had either something happen or something you had to bounce back from that you want to share with our listeners? And again, I don't know if it's tied to your numerology or anything else, but do you have anything like that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yes, yeah. I've had my chart is a challenging chart. I have a challenging chart. I've had a lot of loss in my life, and a lot of people around me have died. And I think that a lot of people have died in many people's lives, but I've had a lot of kids die around me, friends, children die. We've had a lot of loss, and we've had a lot of loss in the last few years, since 2019. And in 2020, my nephew died, and that was, devastating, to say the least. There's not a lot to say about that, but really it was devastating for the entirety of our family. And the grief is strong. The grief is something that I've learned to sort of walk hand in hand with. And I'm also a medium, so I definitely hear my nephew and others who have gone. And, the biggest thing that he came through and spoke to me about when he first passed, literally the first night that we knew that he died, was I wish I knew how much everyone loved me. And so a big part of my messaging is belonging. And I don't believe that anyone can convince you that you belong. You have to have a very strong sense of belief in self. And you have to know in your heart that you belong. And so he was a teenager, and I believe that that's one of the big messages that I'm here to communicate is belonging and really understanding who we are and why we're here and how to love each other more so that, these kids do feel like they belong. And, one of the ways that I've gotten through that is numerologically. I look at my chart every day and I think about my numbers and I live my numbers. But learning how to walk with grief and being a joyful, loving human at the same time was really, it's big stuff, and holding space for people who are grieving is a big part of my mission as well. And helping people to learn that we can do both. We can love, we can still have fun, we can still have pleasure, we can still be love and walk with grief. Because I don't think grief could exist without having loved, right? So that's a big part of my journey for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had a small family, and and hearing your story, I was just also finding it amazing that we're connecting at this time because my husband's father recently passed, and my cousin passed, and my cousin was we were similar in how we loved, how we cared for others, and it was a tough year. And it's Christmas, and my mother-in-law's coming, and my husband, who was able to kind of put it off, kind of get back to his regular life and into things to distract him. I can see this grief, it's there and it's coming back, and then the mom's going to come and it's going to be different, to say the least. And I have to share a funny story. I was at the store, and there were these little angels, plastic markers that you would put in the ground, and it was in remembrance of you, and they were so beautiful. And I thought, maybe I should get one of those. And I was just so that we can have it close to us. I don't know. Because he was in Florida, he was in a different state, and I'm in New Jersey. Anyway, so I'm standing there thinking this, and all of a sudden, a big raindrop came down and hit me in the eye. And I said, okay, Big Ed, that's my father-in-law. I am not going to waste my money on this plastic thing to stick in my yard or anything. But it was just so funny because that was just a sign, and again, it was something so simple and silly, but it helped me to realize that same fact, right? That we can have that grief, we can feel that feeling, and, honor the person in whatever way we want to, whether it's through a plastic thing or not. But,
Right.
But again, it's nice to hear that coming from you, that, we can still have that love and be that joyful person, and still have that place. So we're going to experience that this Christmas.
Yeah. Loss is loss, and it just is, it's big. Especially around the holidays.
Yeah. So when you have that, I guess you're here to kind of spread that message, right? That especially for the younger kids who have to get that mastery of emotional mastery, is what you called it. I actually have another book. I have this book, which is an activity workbook, but it's a therapeutic tool. It was designed by my daughter, who was 9, me, and a clinical therapist. And it's tools basically to help them understand what they might be feeling. But it's a workbook with fun exercises, little reminders. They can use this with their caregiver. They can use this, on their own. It helps them, it encourages them, helps them to understand that the way they're acting might be something that, is related to how they feel. And the earlier that they learn their feelings and their actions and other people's actions toward them. They can set boundaries. They can. So I'm just so pleased to be here and be able to put out these little tools and solutions. I'm working on the next version, which is for ages 8 to 12, our tweens. There's been a lot of, unfortunately, there's been a lot of death, a lot of suicide attempts in, middle school age children and, older high school and college age kids. But I feel that if we can give them some tools to create a softer path, they might be a little more emotionally strong. They might be resilient. They might not turn to those depths of despair, right? That's what my goal is as well, to do this. We have the book, the tween version of the book. It's a journal workbook. It's right now we have a few children who are trying it out to give their feedback to make sure that it's going to be what we want it to be. So yeah, real excited about it.
Congratulations. That's a wonderful thing for people to have.
Yeah, thank you. But Jennifer, I'm interested in hearing about your one small win each day that enriches your sense of being, right? Because you're very in tune using your numerological charts. And what is one thing that you would say you do every day to help?
Well, I know I love this question that you wrote, and I wrote about my child, but one thing that I really do every day is I sit in gratitude. I sit in meditation. I sit in quantum expansion. And for me, that feels like a gigantic win. It's very simple and easeful, and it brings the frequency of peace and joy into my life. And so those are some really simple, easy things that I do. But I did write about my child, and the writing about my child was really important because I do get to pick him up from school every single day of my life. And someday I'm like, oh God, I could be working or I could be doing this. And then I think, oh no, this is the most important thing that I'm doing right now. And I created the life that I am living right here, right now, so that I could be present in my child's life. And my parents were wonderful, and they were great parents, and they did the best that they could in their life. And I was a total latchkey kid. And I mean, it was the 80s. It's fine.
Yeah, right. Me too.
But I don't really want that for my kid. And I'm so joyful and happy that every day my little alarm goes off and I walk away from my computer and my desk and my charts and all of my clients, and I go to school, and I am mama, and I pick him up. And, we only have 1.5 more years of elementary school left. And so that's something that brings me great joy, and it's simple, and I've created it.
Yeah, well, that intention, that is just amazing. So kudos to you for doing this and being an example. And now, it's going to be heard by people all over as our show is broadcast in New York and Manchester, United Kingdom, in over 220 countries. So we want to definitely congratulate you for this wonderful thing that you are doing intentionally, because it really will make a difference. I can tell you, I have a child in high school, and my youngest is in 4th grade, and she wanted to be independent. I'm going to ride my bike to school because we do live close, or I'm going to, but then after the first day, she wanted that security. No, I'm not going to do that. What was I thinking? I'm not going to go on my own. But, and my son, who now gets a ride from a friend her sister drives, right? So they have, it's different, right? It's like, I'm not like driving out to the bus stop when it rains to pick him up because he's on his own. Although I do love it when he texts me and says, Mom, would you be able to pick me up from school today? But again, it's a little, and it goes fast. People who are parents of young children enjoy every moment, everything that might seem like a frustration or a pain, or you're struggling to make it all work.
Yeah.
Do it, because it's definitely something that And now with this world what we have with all these viruses and flus, and if a child had a sniffle or a stuffy nose, you would send them to school. I guess now it's a different world, right? We got a note from the school the other day, said keep them home if they don't feel at all well, like keep them home. And so people didn't, and now the flus are happening. They're spreading like wildfire. The things we do as a parent. But again, thank you so much for sharing that. And both of those things, being present in your child's life is going to make a difference. It's going to help them, relationships. The best place for kids to open up is when you're like alone in the car with them. They talk, they'll open up. It's like a safe space. So encourage those conversations, and open-ended questions work well. Tell me about Spanish class today. How did it go? But and then they start talking about the other classes that they had. So so it's really wonderful to do, because again, everything that life is going to put in their way, and who knows, look at all the growth we've had over the past 30 years.
Yes.
It's probably going to continue, and things are going to get more fast paced but the other thing you said about sitting in gratitude brings the peace and joy frequency. That's something that I was focused on. Also, the past few weeks, I did a show on recognizing stress so that you can get to that place of joy and using mindfulness to be more grateful. When you say you sit in gratitude, do you journal, or do you have something that you use with imagery, or what do you do?
So I have my morning ritual, and my morning ritual has expanded and grown and changed and shifted over the years, but gratitude is one that I sit with, right? Like, I want to really remain in gratitude. I think it's really important. So I actually am so cheesy. I have a little workbook, and this is something I use in my programs, and it has a little sun on it, and it reminds me of being in like the 5th grade, literally. But where you would like draw a sun, and then I do my gratitude. So I do a stream of consciousness, and I just move through the sun. And I take my little workbook out every day, and I write my gratitude. I am grateful for, and then I write, I'm grateful for my body. I'm grateful for clean air. I'm grateful for a house to live in, and heat and water. And, I just sort of move through this process until I'm finished with my son. And then I just sit in it. And I do something called quantum expansion. Quantum expansion is creation energy. We're bringing in, the frequency of whatever it is that you desire. So gratitude would be a great one. Belonging, right? Love, whatever that looks like for you. And then we move it through the body in a figure 8, and we amplify it out into the world. And this is something I teach in my programs. And anyone can do it. You don't have to be attuned like in Reiki. And it is really bringing the power back to the people is the way that I feel that we describe it. And it's a really quick process, but it's an amazing manifesting technique, and the gratitude is very helpful because we want to be grateful ahead of time before we ask for all of the things, right? Mm-hmm. You want to be in a good state of being in order to get to ask for what you desire, and then to bring it to you.
Yeah, makes sense. I've seen it happen in many cases where, when they put that. So that's interesting. So that's a technique that you teach also. Is it part of the awakening program?
Yeah.
Or?
Yes.
Okay. Good to know.
That's part of the awakening program. Just something that I just love, and trying to spread it all over the internet.
Yeah. Quantum expression. Okay. Now, do you have other programs? Like I saw on Facebook, you have some classes or sessions, group things. What do you have available?
I have a year-long program called Become the Vision. And that is to really learn how to live your chart numerologically. So using your chart to create your best life and to really move through to remove resistance to life. And so it allows you to really flow with life and surrender to life. I love to work with entrepreneurs in their business, so that's a big program for them. It's a year-long commitment. So, you're building something. You are working on you are the project and you're really working on yourself and you're really devoted and dedicated to growing and expanding, evolving as a human, or you're an entrepreneur and you're really you're expanding in your writing, your speaking career, and you're wanting to know, when do I launch these programs? When do I where am I connecting with people? Where am I really diving in and making money? Like, that's what our chart those are some of the things that our chart can share with us. So really focusing on health, on well-being, and I believe well-being equals wealth. So when we feel well and we are really managing our well-being, that really, to me, is being wealthy, right? And then, and then allowing the actual money to flow. And that's the dream of all entrepreneurs. Is that we're here to create and make an impact and to allow money to flow to us.
Right. Well, that sounds good. Now I have a whole nother suite of people that this will resonate with them. So we're gonna promote this one for sure.
I got it all.
Good. So Jennifer, what is the best way for people to contact you? Let's start there.
So I have a website. It's www.jenkohler.com. That's a good place to find me. That's a great space to find me. And then I'm on Facebook. That's like my main social media platform. I'm a Gen X, so I am stuck on Facebook, I guess. But again, Jennifer Kohler is my name. I'm very accessible. I have a public page. I do have a business page, but somehow Facebook has deleted my Facebook page, my business page currently. I don't know what happened to it. It's just gone into the ethers, but I have a public profile, so that works. And I'm very accessible and available.
Okay, wonderful. So, listeners, you can find Jen Kohler at www.jenkohler.com, and as well, Jen Kohler is available on Facebook. She has many services that can help you, whether you're an entrepreneur working on your business strategies or not. We've learned so much today from you, Jennifer. It's really interesting. We go through life, and me and my 50 years of life so far, I imagine, what if I had learned about this sooner, how much easier things might have been. That's what's resonating with me now. It's like, would I have chose certain jobs, or spent time on certain people where if they didn't appreciate who I was from the start, right, based on my being, then I don't know. I feel like this is just amazing. This is such a wonderful thing to learn about, and I'm grateful for you for being here and being with us today. Do you have anything up and coming? About your programs though, before we get to what's next, do you have? Is it something that we can do remotely? Your programs,
yes, absolutely.
You mentioned we can listen in our car. Is it remote and available at our leisure?
Yes. So I work with Kajabi, which is my platform for my website. And I love Kajabi because you can download an app onto your phone and you can listen to all my meditations. You can, I have an evergreen chakra course, which is only $77. That's a really easeful way to work with me. It's sort of an evergreen. You can listen to the meditations and learn the information very easily right there on your phone. Everything I do is on Zoom, so I have a worldwide audience, and I work with people all over the world, and everything that we do is remote. So all of my sessions are remote. Like all of my programs are generally done live. But you would come live to a Zoom session. You would be in a group of people or privately one-on-one with me. And then there's always replays for people who can't, if you can't come to the time, there's always a replay. And again, love Kajabi for that because the app on the phone, it makes it so easy. Just stick headphones in and go for a walk and you can listen to the session or whatever that looks like.
Wonderful. Okay, yeah, good to know. Good to know. So we have the Awakening program. We have the chakra course for $77. That's a good one. People may want to start with. Is there something that's up and coming that you want to share?
Yeah, I actually am doing a workshop on Sunday, and it's an intuitive marketing workshop, and it's only $25. And it's a 2 hour, maybe a 90-minute to 2 hour session. And we're going to be playing with whatever, this would be great for an entrepreneur, someone who's building a program or creating something. We're going to use oracle cards, tarot cards, numerology, and we're going to plan out your marketing and your content for your next program. Talking to your ideal client, who you're talking to, that kind of a thing. And it's really fun. It's a really fun session.
Okay, wonderful. And is that available to enroll in on your website?
That is available on my website, yes.
Okay. And so this Sunday, so that would be tomorrow, people can do that, and the 18th would be the date, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to that. Jennifer, thank you again so much for being here. We're gonna look forward to what comes next. Callers, if you have any opportunity, you can reach out to us on Power 98.5, submit your questions, and we'll get them over to Jennifer as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.